Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Well, Chandra, welcome to 2024. Here we've made it through Christmas. I'm here with Chandra with Aran and Franklin, and we're going to start the year off talking about a way to build a home where you can get massive discounts on insurance and have a home that's going to withstand some of the storms we have down here. Chandra, we've touched on it a little bit, and that's fortification. Let's really dive into fortification because when I was talking to Dave last year, he was telling me about a house in Galveston where they built it fortified. It does cost a little more, but the money that they saved on insurance, it was like half of what their insurance typically is.
Right. So I mean, the insurance discounts are one of the biggest drivers for wanting to do the Fortified program. Um, so just a little backstory. Fortified is a program that's developed by the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. And so what that is, it's the crash test dummies for your cars. It's the crash test dummies for your house, basically. So it's basically the same federal agency that a sister agency that does safety for homes. And
Hmm.
so what it's sponsored by the insurance industry, and so they pump all this money into this research to see how can we prevent having to pay all these claims and build stronger, more resilient houses. So Fortified is a program that has come out of the IBHS, and they've got some tiers on it. But for what we're doing when we're building a new house, we want to go gold. We want to go Fortified Gold. And the good thing is we already have the TWIA standard. We already are following TDI standard, and so there's just some minor enhancements that you have to do and pay attention to. And a lot of it's really
I
documentation.
was going
It's
to say
it's
that's
it's
what.
photos and specific photos you have to take and measurements you have to take and forms you have to fill out and things like that to make sure that you're doing it right. And so because a lot of times we're doing it right, but we're not really writing it down. So it's but you might as well get credit for the hard work you're already doing and the money you're already putting into it. So the big things are an enhanced roof. Okay, so that's the main difference between what we're already doing and what they're doing now. Because what they found is if we can keep the roof on, and more importantly, if we can keep the water out, we're going to reduce our claims by about 2/3. So because all that interior water damage,
Hmm.
all of the issues with contents being a
Damage.
loss of use, being having to be displaced from your home, like all those things. Like if you're missing some shingles or missing some metal panels, no big deal, right? If there's no water in your house, and
Right.
you can just turn your generator on and you can be there.
Right.
So it makes the community come back a lot faster too whenever everyone's not displaced from their homes. So when we design a house, we're designing for all the hazards that are in that particular area. So we're designing for the wind, we're designing for the water, and of course all the normal structural loading. So we're not worried about the water because we're high enough up. We've designed the piles to take the water load. And the wind, we've already designed for that as well. But if we can just keep components on, we keep the roof on, keep the water out, then all these houses are going to come back and we're not going to see what we saw when Ike happened.
Right.
So the main thing, like I said, is the documentation, and that's the really heavy lift. And that's where it's a partnership between us and the client because we can't be there every single day for all the very specific things that they need. So we give everybody a list of what they need to do, and it's a checklist. And we're still coming out doing our normal windstorm inspections, and we're still helping do the documentation. But we give them a link to do some of their own photos as well because, like I said, there's a lot more photos required.
Hmm.
So it's a partnership. We're still reviewing those as they come in, and we're saying, "Oh, wait, we need some more before you move on." But that's where we always have the issue is that communication breakdown because while we may have communicated that with the owner, it didn't trickle down through the GC
To
or
the
the subs or
contractor.
whatever. So that's where that's the hard part of it is trying to make sure that communication trickles all the way through to the person that's hammering the nails. So that's the hard part about Fortified. The discounts are amazing. I
I was going
mean,
to say, when
yeah.
I hit, there were a lot of houses, the older houses like in the Emerald One and Emerald Two, a
Hmm.
lot of those were lost because they were still on old telephone poles or
They
they
were
were a
low, real
lot
low, and the water
lower.
loads were so high.
But when you got down into Lafitte's and some of those other subdivisions where the homes were fairly new homes, we
Mhm.
didn't see near the damage down there. And we already build, most of the homes I would imagine are built to 120 mile an hour, 130 mile an hour winds. And so if you can, and I can understand keeping the roof on, keeping it sealed, even if you lose shingles, as long as you have a sealed area there, you're not going to have near the damage. And wouldn't it be nice to be able to walk back into your home after a category 2, with a 10-foot storm surge? And yeah, you're going to lose your stairs and probably your power downstairs, but be able to walk into your home, and maybe some pictures are a little crooked on the wall
Yeah, but
from the
that's the
baking
thing.
stuff.
When we had Ike come through, we had done so the houses in Beachtown and Galveston, they were kind of like the pilot program for this program, Fortified. It was another program called Fortified for Safer Living. It was started in 2003. We got involved in 2005, and so we started building that community to this Fortified for Safer Living standard, which is actually even a little more strict than this one. It's got some other enhancements as well. But but there were people that all the landscaping was gone, no stairs, no breakaway walls, no nothing. And they walk in their house and their coffee mugs on the counter, the pillows are still on the couch. Like everything was like they left it, except they couldn't hardly get into the house. But I mean,
Right.
the house was fine. And so as soon as they built their stairs, they were good to go. So
And you and I talked before we started the show.
Mhm.
This has been around for about 13 years, I think you said. And you made the comment, it doesn't matter how much testing you do in the labs with the wind tunnels and the water and the wave action. It's been around long enough now that they've actually been able to see the difference of the wind on this house that is built to fortified and this house that isn't built. And so now they've got some history because we've had storms. And has it improved or evolved over the last 13 years? Have they made little tweaks and changes as each
yeah.
storm goes through?
Absolutely, because like I said, everything works perfect on paper and in the lab. So when
Right.
you actually test it, with a storm, you can see, oh, well, I can see that this product doesn't work quite as well. And one of the things that they changed a little bit was the drip edge because they found out that if they could make that drip edge a little bit deeper and they could hold that leading edge down a little bit better, that there's less likelihood that the roof will just peel off.
Peel
And
off.
so that's what so normally we got like a 2-inch drip edge. They want a 3-inch strip edge. They want that little bit wider drip edge. Used to, they would just enhance the nailing on that 2-inch strip edge, and they finally said, no, we're going to go to a 3, because they'd seen it how it performed, and they were
Mhm.
like, yeah, I mean the nailing, I mean it's holding down, but it's still ripping the paper out from underneath it, so we need to get it tucked farther underneath.
Underneath.
So have been a few little small tweaks over the years, and they do put out a supplement every 3 to 4 years, depending on the research. But that's what happens. Like you get in a storm event, and these researchers are coming from Tampa or from South Carolina, and they are coming to wherever that storm was, and they are looking boots on the ground to see what happened and how did things perform and what did well and what didn't do well. And they had a storm in Alabama, and they had just done. It was really funny. They had just done this multifamily complex, and uh, half of it had been done normal, and half of it had been done fortified. And the part that had been done fortified did so much better than the other half of
Right.
the same complex with the same plans. So they could literally see side by side that these enhancements work. And so while it's great to say, okay, yeah, awesome, we're going to save money. Can you imagine the peace of mind that you're
Knowing
also
that your
buying
house is going
yourself,
to be there.
knowing that your house is going to be there, knowing that your memories are going to be preserved, knowing that you can come back home versus having to be displaced for weeks or months. So it's the insurance discounts are significant because you don't have to move into the TWIA pool. You can get out of the TWIA pool by getting a fortified designation, which opens up your insurance options tremendously. And the major carriers already have discounts that they will give
Give
you
you for
on Fortified. So, and you can get a better policy, a lower deductible, and and a lower premium on your wind policy. And that policy is going to be a better policy and cheaper. and so you're looking at it and say, okay, wow, it's 50% cheaper, but that's every year, David.
Yeah.
That is every single year. So you're getting that savings every single year.
So if
Now,
you've got
did
a
you?
say a $5,000 insurance policy, you may get it down to 3,500 or even lower than that.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And
that
that
adds up.
$1,500 times 5, I mean, that's $7,500 over 5
Yeah,
years. Now, you do have to do a redesignation process every 5 years. And what that means is you're having somebody come out and check, basically, has there been any changes to the house? Is
right,
everything still in good condition? And does the roof have 5 more years of life in it? Well, on a new build, you're probably good 15 years at least, even on
right.
a shingle roof, unless we get a storm. So, that's that process. It's pretty simple. Like, you just call
Well,
somebody like me who's an evaluator. We come out, we document it all, and redesignate it, and you're good for 5 more years, and you're saving your money 5 more years. So,
but you also go out. We've talked about this before. You go out after a storm's come through because y'all have actual offices all the way down through the Florida Panhandle and on the East Coast. You guys also go out and look at what happens to different homes in different scenarios, just so that you can continue your growth. Not
right.
only on the fortified stuff, but also just building in general. I've heard you talk about going out and looking at different areas that had storms and taking especially new engineers out so they see stuff in the labs and can read all the textbook. But until, it's sort of like down here, someone says, well, I came in after Ike. What was it like?
You
Until
can't
you've
describe it.
experienced, yeah, until you've experienced it, it's emotional, it's draining. And I always tell everyone, if someone says they weren't affected by Ike, they're flat out
They're
lying to you.
lying. They're lying, absolutely. I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I didn't live in that area. I mean, that was really one of our primary service areas, and of course, we were there from day one, and we helped FEMA go through and look at a lot of damaged
Mhm.
homes, and we did a technical study after a mitigation study after Ike to help, figure out how we need to do design differently, what worked, what didn't, and what performed well. So we were really excited to be able to help FEMA do that after Ike. But what that did was that allowed us to design better. I mean,
Mhm.
I feel really confident that if we had another Ike hit us again, that the structures that we've helped redesign are going to perform so much better
Right.
than the structures that were there during Ike. One, because they're new. Two, because they're above flood elevation. They have properly designed foundations that are deep enough to resist all the forces that we're having to deal
Mhm.
with scour and velocity waves and stuff like that. So we've done a better job of designing houses since Ike, and I feel like, if we had another one, the
We
peninsula would
wouldn't
not
have,
look the way it
yeah,
did after Ike, not at
yeah.
all.
It
But
was
you're
like
right.
a
It was
dozer went
traumatic.
through
So
here.
I
So
felt like a counselor after Ike, because people would come in and want to rebuild their house, and I had to cry with them for a while, try
yeah.
to get through their whole story and just to get them to where they could talk about building their new
Well,
house.
and there were so many families that I knew down here that it wasn't just a 5-year-old house. Some of these houses had been in the family 30 and 40 years. Their great grandpa started it, and then they add on and add on and add on. So, well, if people
Yeah.
want to get more information on the Fortified program, what's the best place to go? Your website, or is there
Yeah,
another
yeah,
website?
we have a link to our website. It's aranfranklin.com, Franklin.com. And right on the front page, there's a green Fortified button, and you just push that, and it'll tell you all about Fortified, and it'll talk to you about what those enhancements are. But if you need information, we have a dedicated project coordinator who does nothing but Fortified, and she can
Nothing
help
but
you as well.
Fortified.
Mhm.
Great, great. Well, welcome to 2024, and thanks for joining us this morning. And we'll be back with more from Chandra and Aran and Franklin in 2024. We're going to head on out. Hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, if you have any any questions on the fortification build, or if you're going to get a new roof, you can get the roof fortified, certified, and so you can do it in bits and pieces. So we're going to head on out. Hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live and Chandra from Aran and Franklin Engineering. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.